What if I told you there are birds that travel farther in a year than you will in your entire life? Birds that cross entire oceans, battle hurricane-force winds, and fly non-stop for days without resting? These migrations aren't just long, they're record-breaking feats of endurance. In today's video, we're counting down the 10 most incredible bird migrations on the planet. These birds take on some of the most extreme journeys in the animal kingdom, pushing the very limits of survival. From high-altitude flights over the Himalayas to epic treks from the Arctic to Antarctica, their stories will leave you speechless. One bird in our list travels an astonishing 44,000 miles every year, chasing the sun across the globe. Another soars higher than Mount Everest, while one species spends 10 months straight in the air, barely ever touching the ground. So how do they do it? And why do they take on such impossible journeys? Stick around, because these birds are about to change the way you see the natural world forever. Let's dive in. Arctic Tern. What if I told you there's a bird that sees more daylight than any other creature on Earth? A bird that travels so far, it practically lives in an endless summer. Meet the Arctic Tern, the ultimate globe-trotter of the animal kingdom. This tiny bird, weighing just over 3 ounces, makes the longest migration of any species on the planet. And when I say long, I mean insanely long. Every year, the Arctic Tern flies nearly 44,000 miles, from the frozen north of Greenland and Canada, all the way to the southern tip of Antarctica, and then back again. That's like flying around the entire Earth twice, every single year. But here's the crazy part. This bird doesn't just migrate, it chases the sun. By traveling between the poles, the Arctic Tern spends most of its life in daylight, experiencing 2 summers a year. Imagine never having to deal with winter, just warm weather and endless food. Sounds like the dream, right? But this journey isn't easy. These birds cross entire oceans, fight against fierce winds, and risk starvation, all just to find the perfect breeding and feeding grounds. So why do they do it? Simple: survival. The Arctic Tern has evolved to follow the best weather and food sources, making sure its chicks have the best chance at life. And the result? Some individuals have been recorded flying over 1.5 million miles in their lifetime. That's like traveling to the moon and back, 3 times. The Arctic Tern isn't just a bird. It's a marathon flyer, a sun chaser, and one of nature's greatest travelers. So the next time you take a long flight and feel exhausted, just remember, this little bird could fly circles around you. Sandhill Crane. Now imagine a sky filled with thousands of birds, their haunting calls echoing for miles. Massive wings beating in perfect rhythm as they glide effortlessly over rivers, plains, and mountains. This is the incredible migration of the Sandhill Crane, one of North America's most spectacular natural events. Every year, these tall, elegant birds travel up to 5,000 miles, migrating from their breeding grounds in Canada, Alaska, and Siberia down to the warm wetlands of the southern United States and Mexico. And they don't do it alone. Hundreds of thousands of cranes take flight together, transforming the skies into a breathtaking spectacle. But here's what makes their migration truly special. One crucial stop along the way. Every spring and fall, nearly 80% of the world's sandhill cranes gather in one place, the Platte River in Nebraska. For weeks, this shallow river becomes a crane metropolis, with over 500,000 birds resting, feeding, and dancing before continuing their journey. That's right, dancing. Sandhill cranes are famous for their elaborate courtship displays, and migration season is when they show off their moves the most. Scientists believe these dances help strengthen lifelong pair bonds, making the cranes one of the most devoted bird species. But this journey isn't easy. Along the way, cranes face habitat loss, hunting threats, and extreme weather conditions. They rely on wetlands and grasslands for survival, many of which are disappearing due to human development. Thankfully, conservation efforts across North America are working to protect these incredible birds and the ecosystems they depend on. And thanks to these efforts, sandhill crane populations remain strong, continuing a migration that has existed for millions of years. So next time you see a V-shaped flock of large, graceful birds flying overhead, listen closely. That rolling, bugling call, that's the sound of a journey older than human history itself. bar-headed goose. What if I told you there's a bird that can outfly helicopters, soar higher than Mount Everest, and survive in some of the thinnest air on Earth? Meet the bar-headed goose, a bird that takes migration to a whole new level. Literally. Every year, these incredible birds take on one of the most extreme migrations on the planet, traveling over 3,000 miles from the wetlands of India to their breeding grounds in Tibet and Mongolia. But to get there, they have to cross the Himalayas, the tallest mountain range in the world. And here's the mind-blowing part. These geese don't just fly through mountain passes. They go right over the peaks, reaching altitudes of over 29,000 feet, the same height as Mount Everest. That's higher than most commercial airplanes cruise. At that height, oxygen levels are less than 1/3 of what they are at sea level. Any other animal would struggle to survive. But the bar-headed goose, it has evolved superpowered lungs and blood that can extract oxygen more efficiently than almost any other creature on Earth. But why take such a dangerous route? Why not fly around the mountains instead of over them? Well, the answer's simple. It's the fastest way to their breeding grounds. The quicker they get there, the better chance they have of finding food, securing a nest, and raising their chicks before winter returns. But make no mistake, this journey isn't just difficult, it's deadly. Many geese don't survive the crossing. Sudden storms, exhaustion, and even golden eagles hunting them mid-flight all pose serious threats. Yet year after year, these birds defy the odds, making one of the most jaw-dropping migrations in the animal kingdom. Scientists are still studying how they achieve such a superhuman feat, hoping their secrets could even help improve human medicine at high altitudes. So the next time you hear about Everest climbers struggling to breathe, remember, there's a bird that soars right over the summit as if it's just another day in the sky. Greater flamingo. What if I told you one of the most stunning birds on Earth is also one of its toughest travelers? A bird that transforms entire lakes into seas of pink, thrives in extreme conditions, and migrates across continents just to survive? Meet the greater flamingo, famous for its long legs and bright feathers, but even more impressive for its epic journey across the skies. Every year, thousands of these birds take flight, leaving behind salt flats, lagoons, and coastal waters in search of the perfect feeding and breeding grounds. Their journey? Over 900 miles across Africa, Europe, and parts of Asia. But here's the wild part. Flamingos don't migrate just to escape the cold. They move because their homes are constantly changing. Droughts dry up their wetlands, water levels rise and fall, and food supplies shift. If they don't adapt, they don't survive. So how do they conquer such an unpredictable world? With wingspans nearly 5 feet wide, these birds are built for endurance. They ride the wind in massive flocks, covering hundreds of miles in a single night, often without stopping. And check this out. They don't just flap their wings the whole way. Instead, they stretch out their necks, tuck in their legs, and glide like pro pilots, saving energy while crossing vast distances. But migration isn't just about food, it's about family. Year after year, these birds return to the same nesting grounds, some flying over 1,000 miles to reunite with their colonies. And when it comes to raising their young, flamingos are some of the most devoted parents in the bird world. Both mom and dad take turns protecting the nest and feeding their chick with a special bright red milk packed with nutrients. But here's the reality. Flamingo migration is becoming more dangerous. Climate change, habitat destruction, and even illegal poaching threaten their future. If their wetlands disappear, so do these incredible birds. That's why conservation is crucial. Protecting wetlands, preserving food sources, and keeping migration routes safe. Because without flamingos, some of the world's most breathtaking landscapes would lose their most iconic residents. So next time you see a flamingo, remember, it's more than just a symbol of beauty. It's a survivor, a traveler, and a master of migration, thriving against the odds for millions of years. Sooty shearwater. What if I told you there's a bird that flies farther than almost any other creature on Earth? A bird that crosses entire oceans, riding the wind for months without stopping? Meet the sooty shearwater, one of nature's most incredible long-distance travelers. Every year, these birds embark on an astonishing journey, traveling up to 40,000 miles. Yes, 40,000 miles. In a giant figure-8 pattern across the Pacific Ocean. That's like flying around the entire planet 1.5 times. But how do they do it? Unlike most birds that flap constantly, sooty shearwaters are masters of dynamic soaring. They use the wind to their advantage, gliding effortlessly for hours, barely expending any energy. It's like they've hacked the laws of physics. Their migration takes them from breeding grounds in New Zealand and Chile to feeding areas off the coasts of California, Alaska, and even Japan. And when summer ends, they head right back chasing an endless summer across the globe. And get this, scientists have tracked these birds diving more than 200 feet deep to catch fish and squid. That's deeper than an Olympic-sized swimming pool. They're not just expert flyers, they're elite hunters too. But here's the real shocker. Despite their incredible skills, sooty shearwaters are facing threats. Overfishing, climate change, and pollution are disrupting their food sources and migration routes. And if we're not careful, one of the greatest journeys in the animal kingdom could be in danger. So next time you're near the ocean and see a bird effortlessly gliding over the waves, remember? You might be witnessing one of the longest migrations on Earth. The sooty shearwater isn't just a bird. It's a marathon flyer, a fearless explorer, and proof that nature's best travelers don't always have passports. Blue-winged teal. What if I told you there's a tiny duck that pulls off one of the most impressive migrations in North America? A bird that weighs less than a pound but can travel over 4,000 miles twice a year? Meet the blue-winged teal, one of nature's most incredible long-distance flyers. Every fall, these small but mighty ducks leave their breeding grounds in the northern US and Canada, setting off on an epic journey to Central and South America. We're talking places like Mexico, Colombia, and even Argentina. That's farther than most birds their size would ever dare to travel. And here's the kicker. While many ducks stick to lakes and ponds year-round, blue-winged teal chase warm weather like pros. As soon as the first cold winds hit, they're gone, heading south before ice can trap their food supply. By the time winter sets in, they're already soaking up the sun in tropical wetlands. But how do they cover such insane distances? These birds are built for speed. With streamlined bodies and rapid wing beats, they can hit speeds of up to 50 miles per hour. And when they migrate, they don't mess around. Some flocks fly nonstop for hundreds of miles at a time, crossing the Gulf of Mexico in a single push. And get this, blue-winged teal are some of the last ducks to arrive in spring and the first to leave in fall. Why? Because they waste no time. They breed fast, raise their ducklings quickly, and then take off before the seasons change again. But here's the problem. Habitat loss, climate change, and wetland destruction are making their journey harder every year. Without protected stopover sites, these little travelers could struggle to make it to their winter homes. So, next time you see a flash of blue wings zipping across the sky, remember? You're witnessing one of the fastest, farthest traveling ducks in the world. The blue-winged teal isn't just another duck. It's a high-speed migrator, a seasonal traveler, and a true master of the skies. Red-crowned crane. Imagine a bird so rare and majestic that entire cultures have revered it as a symbol of luck and longevity for centuries. A bird that doesn't just migrate, it performs mesmerizing dances, sings in harmony with its partner, and embarks on one of the most breathtaking journeys in the animal kingdom. Meet the red-crowned crane, one of nature's most graceful and enduring travelers. Every year, these towering cranes, standing nearly 5 feet tall with wingspans over 8 feet, set off on an incredible journey. They leave their breeding grounds in China, Russia, and Mongolia, and fly thousands of miles to warmer wintering sites in Korea and Japan. Their migration isn't just about survival, it's a tradition that's been repeated for millennia. And here's the wild part. These cranes don't just fly, they dance. Red-crowned cranes are famous for their elaborate courtship dances, leaping and bowing with their partners, reinforcing lifelong bonds before the long journey south. But how do they manage such an epic migration? With long, powerful wings, these birds soar effortlessly on thermal currents, conserving energy as they travel. They rely on protected wetlands and river valleys along the way, stopping only where they know food and safety are guaranteed. And get this, while most birds migrate to escape the cold, some red-crowned cranes actually embrace it. The Japanese population spends winter in Hokkaido, where they gather in snow-covered fields, their striking red crowns and white feathers creating a stunning contrast against the winter landscape. But here's the problem. Habitat loss, pollution, and climate change are putting this ancient migration at risk. With wetlands disappearing and human development increasing, these birds are running out of safe places to rest and feed. That's why conservation efforts are crucial. Protecting wetlands, preserving migration routes, and reducing human impact can ensure that future generations continue to witness the beauty of these legendary birds. So next time you see a crane gracefully gliding through the sky, remember, you're watching a living symbol of endurance, devotion, and the incredible power of nature's grand migrations. The red-crowned crane isn't just a bird, it's a legend in flight, bearded vulture. What if I told you there's a bird so fierce, so mysterious, that it's been called the bone breaker of the skies? A bird that doesn't just migrate, it rules the highest peaks, soaring over mountains that would leave most creatures breathless. Meet the bearded vulture, one of the most badass raptors on the planet. Unlike most migrating birds, bearded vultures don't follow a single path. Instead, they move with the seasons, navigating the rugged landscapes of Europe, Asia, and Africa in search of food and the perfect high-altitude home. Some travel thousands of miles between breeding and feeding grounds, covering vast mountain ranges like the Himalayas, Alps, and Atlas Mountains. But here's what makes them truly unique. These birds don't hunt live prey. Instead, they survive almost entirely on bones. That's right, bones. Bearded vultures pick up massive bones, fly high into the air, and drop them onto rocks to shatter them into bite-sized pieces. Then, they swallow them whole, extracting every bit of nutrient-rich marrow. No other bird on Earth does this. And when it comes to flight, they're absolute masters of the wind. With wingspans reaching nearly 10 feet, they glide effortlessly over cliffs and valleys, riding thermal currents to conserve energy as they travel. Some have been recorded flying at altitudes over 24,000 feet, higher than Mount Rainier. But despite their incredible adaptations, bearded vultures are facing serious threats. Habitat destruction, poisoning, and food shortages are making it harder for them to survive. Once widespread, their populations have dwindled, and conservation efforts are now critical to keeping them in the skies. So the next time you look up and see a massive shadow gliding across the mountain peaks, remember, you might be witnessing one of nature's most epic survivors. The bearded vulture isn't just a scavenger. It's a high-altitude legend, a bone-crushing master of the skies, and a true king of the mountains. Common swift. What if I told you there's a bird that spends almost its entire life in the air? A bird that eats, sleeps, and even mates while flying, only landing when it's time to nest? Meet the common swift, nature's ultimate sky traveler. Every year, these tiny but unstoppable birds embark on an incredible migration, covering up to 14,000 miles round trip between Europe and Africa. That's like flying from New York to Los Angeles and back, more than 5 times. And the craziest part? They can stay airborne for up to 10 months straight without touching the ground. How do they pull off such an insane journey? Their bodies are built for speed and efficiency. With long, scythe-shaped wings and lightweight frames, common swifts slice through the air with ease, reaching speeds of over 69 miles per hour. That makes them one of the fastest birds in level flight. And when it comes to rest, they don't land, they sleep while flying. Scientists have discovered that swifts take short power naps mid-flight, gliding on air currents to stay aloft while catching much-needed rest. It's like having autopilot built into their DNA. Their migration takes them from breeding sites across Europe to wintering grounds deep in Africa, where they follow seasonal insect swarms. And when spring returns, they race back north, often returning to the exact same nesting spot year after year. But even these masters of the sky aren't invincible. Habitat loss, climate change, and declining insect populations are making their journey harder each year. With fewer safe nesting sites and food sources, their legendary migration is becoming more dangerous. So next time you see a swift darting through the sky at sunset, remember, you're watching one of nature's greatest endurance athletes. The common swift isn't just a bird, it's a nonstop flyer, a record-breaking traveler, and a true marvel of the skies. If you've made it this far, why not give this video a like and subscribe to the channel? It helps us bring you more amazing wildlife stories just like this one. Now let's dive into one of the most astonishing migrations on the planet, Siberian crane. Imagine a bird so rare, so unstoppable, that it crosses entire continents just to survive. A bird that braves brutal Arctic winters, soars over towering mountain ranges, and depends on some of the most fragile wetlands on Earth. Meet the Siberian crane, one of the most endangered and awe-inspiring migrators in the animal kingdom. Every year, these striking white cranes take on an epic journey, traveling up to 3,000 miles between their breeding grounds in Arctic Russia and their wintering sites in China, Iran, and India. They don't just migrate, they embark on a fight for survival. Their route is no easy path. They soar over vast Siberian tundras, navigate the high-altitude Himalayas, and depend on a network of wetlands that are disappearing at an alarming rate. And here's the incredible part. Despite these challenges, they return to the exact same breeding grounds year after year, proving their unwavering loyalty to their ancient migratory paths. But how do they manage such an intense journey? With wingspans stretching over 7 feet, Siberian cranes are built for endurance. They ride thermal currents, conserving energy as they glide for hundreds of miles at a time. They also migrate in family groups, with parents guiding their young on their first long-distance flight, an awe-inspiring lesson in survival. Yet these legendary travelers are in serious trouble. With only a few thousand left in the wild, habitat destruction, illegal hunting, and climate change are pushing them closer to extinction. Their wetlands are vanishing, and without them, their migration could disappear forever. That's why conservation is crucial. Protecting wetlands, enforcing anti-poaching laws, and supporting international efforts to safeguard their flyways could mean the difference between survival and extinction. So the next time you hear about birds migrating, remember the Siberian crane, an Arctic wanderer, a high-altitude traveler, and a symbol of resilience in a rapidly changing world. From the Arctic Tern's epic pole-to-pole journey to the nonstop flight of the common swift, these migrations are nothing short of mind-blowing. Birds push the limits of endurance, braving storms, predators, and thousands of miles, all in the name of survival. Which of these incredible migrations amazed you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more amazing wildlife content, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next adventure. Your support helps us bring more epic stories from the natural world. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.